A very warm welcome back to my channel, everybody. My name is Karen Saunders. Before we hear the personal statement of Vicky and Mike Hobbs, I would just like to point out that throughout this video, Vicky will be doing most of the talking. Mike also just talk about some of his experiences whilst they were both at the Beroean Pickets Bible study groups. I just want to commend Mike and Vicky for their demeanour and their calmness throughout all of this interview. I just want to also let people know that what they went through and what they experienced was not pleasant. Mike and Vicky went through everything from being disfellowshipped from the group for having their own opinions, to being likened to the Antichrist, and also having a public talk in the Beroean Pickets groups, which was aimed basically at Vicky. So I'd just like to make those points now before we get into the interview. A very warm welcome back to my channel, everybody. I'm doing another interview for the Beroean Pickets ex-members, and on tonight's discussion and interview I'm going to be talking with Vicky and Mike Hobbs from Wales in England, and they're going to be telling us their experience. Vicky will actually be doing most of the talking of their time and their experience in the Beroean Pickets in 2023. So I'd just like to invite them on now and say hello. Okay, hello Vicky, hello Mike.
Hi Karen. Hi Karen. I had to laugh when you said I'll be doing most of the talking. Like, some people are going to say, "Well, what's new?" But
No.
You know, it was really mainly me, because I raised these issues that sort of snowballed. So that's right.
Yeah. All right. And thank you for reaching out to me to tell us of your experiences whilst you were with Beroean Pickets. I know that you're ex-JWs as well. I've just got some questions to start off with. They're very, very simple questions, and this is all about experience. It's nothing to do with legalism or anything like that. It's just your time and your experiences and what you felt whilst you were in the Bible study groups there. So the first question is then, so after leaving Jehovah's Witnesses, how did you find Beroean Pickets?
It started really with our watching Eric's videos. And in these videos, as you know, he debunks the Watchtower and their fallacious reasoning, their gaslighting, their lying to the flock, their cover-ups, all of it, and the abuse, the disfellowshipping of people for non-sins, for disagreeing with the leadership. You're not allowed to have any mind for yourself. And this was all brought out in Beroean Pickets. And I sort of came into Beroean Pickets about 6 months after we left the Watchtower. Actually, we were disfellowshipped from the Watchtower because we just had a different opinion for the governing body. I mean, there wasn't anything out of the way. We didn't even share it.
It wasn't even scriptural.
It wasn't even about the scriptures. It was a mad thing anyway. But we were disfellowshipped, and after that, I left with a lot of JW ideas, as you do.
Yeah.
But when I saw the videos, it began to untangle certain things, and I thought, great, and then I heard that Eric was also running a platform, which it was advertised. I remember that you had a statement of beliefs that were listed, and I thought, well, sort of tick all those boxes really. And then I thought, well, based on the videos, Eric's a reasonable guy who's not going to practice the same watchtower tricks on us. And this is a platform where we can discuss in a spirit of freedom, really, the Bible, and but also investigate it. That was the thing I wanted to do, really get to the truth of what the Bible was teaching. And I thought that would help my studies, but also I'm not just a bum on a seat, you know, being a passive recipient of the authoritative word, you know, coming down. But I could actually participate in this. And I wouldn't be controlled. Obviously, you know, there's protocols, there's codes of conduct and deportment. I was on board with all of that. But that was basically what appealed. So we joined about 6 months after we came out of Jehovah.
Okay. All right. So you probably joined the same time as I actually joined towards the end of 2023, into 2024, into this year, before I decided to leave because of my experiences. So you kind of answered the second question together with the first question with, you know, what drew you to Beroean Pickets. So can I just ask you then, how did Beroean Pickets, once you were part of the group, how did you feel that Beroean Pickets helped you? Were there any positive experiences?
Oh yes, I mean, to start with, it seemed to be fine. The meetings had quite an upbeat atmosphere. I was kind of aware though that Wendy she came across to me anyway as a bit fake, to be honest. I just, you put my teeth on edge somehow. It started off with, you know, the usual love bombing thing, but, you know, because I wasn't giving her supply, I suppose, you know, I kind of didn't like her much, to be honest. I didn't really, you know, reciprocate this, and so I kind of felt that she'd sort of dropped me from, you know, the potentiality of being in the inner circle. I got that impression.
Right,
yeah,
so you already got the impression that there was an inner circle then? You already deduced that there was an inner circle somewhat because of how you intuitively felt about Wendy?
Yes, and also Eric. I just, you know, felt, okay, so they're not my kind of people, but I'm here for the Bible. I'm here for, you know, and everybody, you know, seemed to be nice people and everything. A lot of them were, most were either ex-Jehovah's Witnesses or people that were studying with ex-Jehovah's Witnesses but hadn't really bought the governing body, and this was, you know, the alternative. So but as you do, you know, as you progress in your own understanding, you see, when I came on board, you know, I agreed with everything that Eric said, and I was in that kind of mode where you think there's somebody out there with all the answers, and all you have to do is find that person and they'll tell you it all. And then I woke up there too, because I was, you know, coming away all the time. I was doing a lot of Bibles research myself. And I found that I disagreed with Eric on certain things. And you see, Eric had kind of got this declaration that his exegesic reasoning was second to none. And that was the word on the street there with Beroean Pickets. So he'd already kind of been set up on a pedestal as this great teacher. But I thought, well, Beroean Pickets is all about, you know, we don't, you know, checking out to make sure that these things are so, which is what the Bereans in the Bible did, and they were recommended for it. They were commended for it. So I thought, right, well, yeah, I don't agree on this issue. And, you know, I dared to, in private, you know, bring his attention to it, because I just thought, well, okay, you know, we can discuss it. And also I can get an opportunity to outline why I believe a certain way, and it can be discussed and debated within the group. You know, it's what I kind of, the impression that I got, that's what it was all about, you know.
Right. Okay. Well, that's, yeah, very, very good. I think just listening to you and referring to notes again, that I think everybody, in one way or another, coming out of Jehovah's Witnesses into the group of Beroean Pickets, like you did, like I did, I think we all had that same kind of mindset, you know, because no matter how strong we are personality wise, we're still very vulnerable. I was a Jehovah's Witness for 35 years, coming out of it and desperately looking for something to fill what I'd been part of, but then that cognitive dissonance, not believing the Watchtower, and then, having the realization that, everything is not as it seems to be in the Watchtower, and then looking for something else. Eric was just the ticket. And I just want to say, I piggyback on what you've said. I can't fault Eric, and I'm not going to fault Eric for his ability to be able to, cut the Watchtower doctrine in half with exegesis, exposing them for who they are, and saying that in a very, very, very well thought out and well spoken manner. But as time went on, that was just lost in translation. Everything goes downhill after that. That was my personal experience. But in the interim, I could not fault him.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's only when you exhibit the fact that you do have a mind of your own that the trouble starts. Because I think what Eric and Wendy obviously want is adulation. They want that spot, that top spot. But this is the thing, Beroean Pickets is actually advertised as something that is not a church, that Eric is not a pastor or an elder, and there's no such thing as elders in the Beroean Pickets apparently, and nobody's really in authority. He used to say, well, it's not my platform, it's yours. So it was always presented as this democratic platform that belonged to us, but always the ones pulling the strings were Eric and Wendy. And Wendy would often be backstage manipulating chat rooms and all sorts of things. Because after the meeting, remember, we had the kind of the format, the song prayer, and then we get into the Bible discussion, the group Bible discussion. And we're talking about, like a big congregation that, was tuning in. I think there was up to 100 members in the UK at that point. And we had chat rooms after the meetings, so that you got a number of options, hadn't you? You could go into one chat room and talk about that thing sometimes, right. Or go into another, so there were options. And what I requested of Eric was that I be given an opportunity to just outline why I believe what I believed and why. Okay, and it was to do with Jesus' pre-existence, and Eric's view was the Arian view, where Jesus is like has a pre-human existence as a kind of super spirit being. But I believe that he was pre-existent in God's plan, and that's what scriptures were really talking about. So anyway, a lot of the Beroean Picketeers hadn't heard that before. It's called the monetarian position. So I thought, well, it's a good education anyway. They don't have to accept it, of course, but they don't even have to go into the chat room, to hear it if they don't want to. But if they do, it's there. So I put this across to Eric, and he kind of conceded, although I could see he wasn't happy about it. Anyway. So anyway, I after the meeting, the chat room was open, but I went in and Eric came in straight after. But he sat on me, he monopolized that situation. He was kind of interrupting. He was getting quite hostile, and I felt very pressured. And nobody else was able to enter into the discussion at all. It was like one-on-one with Eric, and I was thinking, just a minute, this is not what the doctor ordered. So anyway, the outcome of that was that after a little while, after I'd just given a basic sort of view, I excused myself politely and I said, look, I don't want to break up your unity, and I'm not, in it to have an argument. So I said, Eric, I'll I'll have this conversation with you again. And then I politely took my leave on that occasion. So, but then I got back to Eric and I said, look, Eric, you know, this was not obviously in public. I was emailing him, and I just said, look, I wasn't really happy about that, the way that went. Because really it was the spirit of Beroean Pickets, you know. Really that conversation was monopolized by yourself, and really it should have been an open that was not so pressured as it was.
I'm just listening to you. I find this remarkable because in their website, Beroean Pickets, I just want to quote this. Under what we believe, he says here, it says on the Beroean Pickets, our understanding of scripture is a work in progress. And we are willing to examine anything in the light of scripture.
Okay, that's interesting, isn't it? Very interesting, in the light of scripture, because I never departed from the scriptures at all. It was all on the scripture. And I know that, you know, theologians have argued on the scriptures for centuries, and no consensus has ever been really achieved. But not that I don't believe that the Bible does have a definitive meaning, you know, certain things in it, but it is open to interpretation. And there are things that, you know, could be read one way or the other way, and you have to make that decision what you personally, how you feel it's weighted for you.
Well, I just can't imagine the first century Beroean Christians or the Beroeans back then saying to one another as they're studying the scriptures day by day, saying to one another, you're wrong, I'm right, out you go.
Exactly. And unfortunately, everything gets blown up to be a salvation issue. And with Eric, I was an antichrist, you see.
Oh, don't. Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
What? Are you kidding me?
Really. And the interesting thing was that he was using the epistle of John that talks about those that were not accepting that Jesus came in the flesh, or that he was fully human, you know, when he was on earth. And for some reason, that scripture kept on being thrown at me. And I thought, well, wait a minute, Eric, I am totally saying that. I'm totally saying that Jesus was human. Why am I an antichrist? Why am I in the spirit of antichrist? I'm only in the spirit of antichrist because I'm actually disagreeing with Eric, right? So anyway, what happened was that I requested another chat room to be opened. And, you know, Eric was in this quandary because although he was really controlling the show, he didn't want it to appear like he was. He couldn't afford to lose all the Jehovah's Witnesses that were drawn to Beroean Pickets because they thought it was a democratic platform debate, you know.
Exactly.
Not a controlled religion or a cult. So, well, I got what I wanted again, or so I thought. He kind of tacitly agreed to it the following week. Wendy came in after the meeting, about an hour later. We'd been all chatting, and I was wondering, when's this chat room going to open? You know? And I got some friends who were also interested in the subject, you see, and they were all lining up. It didn't happen until about an hour into that sort of end of the meeting kind of situation. And then Wendy announced it with my name in big letters again, you know. It's like, oh, we're going to talk about it again, you know, and that kind of thing, because Vicky wanted. And I thought, well, everybody's gone home. I mean, actually, all the people that were going to come in on and talk about it have gone home, as I say. You know, obviously it's a virtual meeting, but they tuned out because they thought it wasn't going to happen. And I sort of stayed to the bitter end. And I was like, oh, The last person's gone out the door now, and that's when Wendy comes in to announce the chat room's open.
Oh, how convenient. Yeah.
Crazy. So
No.
I got back to Eric about this, and I didn't imply anything. I said, and Eric, I would really like this to happen when people are around, not when they've all gone. And so the following week, what happened was that a chat room was open on time, but I couldn't get in. I'd been locked out. See, what happened was that, the chat room icons would appear on the screen, and then you could click.
And then you can click on the
yeah.
When we were in the group, she completely cancelled those chat rooms. And I believe personally, this isn't a personal, I'm not attacking her in any way, shape, or form. But when we were on Beroean Pickets at the weekend, chat rooms were just not allowed. You know why? Because I personally believe she couldn't control them.
No. Well, I think really what happened, she was controlling really well, but you see, it was a venue for us, to talk where Eric was not policing it. And that was why they were taken away. They were well controlled, all right, because a chat room would appear on your screen or it wouldn't, and we were all getting this different. Now, everybody else, apart from the ones that were interested, and I got a friend called Tom, who was also a proponent of, the position that I was arguing, you couldn't get in either. So it was interesting, wasn't it, that we were all locked out. So, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Vicky. I was just going to say, just piggybacking off you again, there were more than one chat room, sorry, as you said. So the point that I was making was that Wendy couldn't control every single chat room. So she just, when we were on Beroean Pickets, she just banned them. Nobody was allowed to have a chat room. Nobody. So
that's right. I believe, you're right, because I left probably before you joined, because I left last November. Well, I was disfellowshipped from Beroean Pickets last November, you see, 2023.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think that it all changed after that. And from what you're saying, because, Tom said, oh, they've stopped the chat rooms now, because he carried on, because he wanted to see what was going to happen, He didn't like Beroean Pickets, but he wanted to see what was going to happen. So he used to be like, he'd report back. It's quite funny. But so what happened was, after that, I said, Eric, look, come on. Okay, so you've had computer problems, issues, for some reason, and we got locked out. But, we just really want this to happen, eh? And he said, well, look, that time when nobody came into the chat room, that was the time when it was late. That proves that nobody's interested. I said, look, Eric, I knew then that I was being bamboozled. I said, that was because, everybody had already left, and it was an hour after the meeting ended. Please, I'm not that much of an idiot. Come on. I know you don't like this, but you've got your position on it. You've sorted that one out for yourself. But other people should be able to make an informed decision. You can't just kind of control what people think and what they see and what they read and what they research.
Yeah. So just, I'm picking up on that word controlled. So I just want to bring out that actually it comes under spiritual abuse. And spiritual abuse, whether we know that it's taking place or not, it's a form of psychological and emotional abuse. And it's dovetailed very neatly in the person who's controlling with within the spiritual context of actually making sure that coercion's involved, and you will do it the Beroean Pickets way, or it's the highway. That is spiritual abuse, absolutely, with a capital S and a capital A. And this is what was taking place, just picking up on what you were saying, and then just slipping it in, alluding to being likened to the Antichrist, I mean, you know, that is just on another level. It's on another
Mm,
level. Pure
mm.
manipulation, bamboozling. I want to pick up on that. So the bamboozling was the manipulation on you. Actually, yeah, you see now where I'm coming from. Trying to
I
actually
do.
question, yeah, question your own reality of that, because he said, oh, well, look, everybody's gone. The fact was,
Yes.
nobody was interested, as you said, trying to belittle you and, being very underhanded. So many components there of abuse. It's not funny. I just picked up on all of that. Absolutely disturbing. Very, very
Yeah,
disturbing.
yeah, it
Mm.
was. He was trying to manipulate my perception of what
Yes.
happened, you know,
Yes.
and use that as a reason why I shouldn't, have a chance to explain this position. So
Mm.
um, I said, well, actually, I do know that people are interested because I'm in touch with them.
Very
I know.
good.
And then there are ones that, are
Mm.
on the fence, they don't know what it's all about. And there are others that may want to just check it out.
Mm.
You, information is free. Information is free and it belongs to everybody. So I said, look, let's go for this again, and it needs to be on time and I need to be able to get in. So I was nothing if not persistent.
Oh, that would have gone down like
I
a lead
thought, well,
balloon.
yeah, I mean, I'm like, no, I'm not going to have it.
No,
I've had it for
exactly.
33 years in the Watchtower. I'm not going to have it anymore. So
And we
anyway,
don't have to take this rubbish. I've
no,
had dealings with non-Jehovah's Witnesses that are Christians, and they just don't get it. We just won't take any more garbage from anybody. We had to
no,
put up with it for decades. So,
yeah,
this man, I mean, just this man, really should have been true to himself in the fact that we all thought he was at the beginning of our coming into Beroean Pickets. That should have just followed through. But you see, when you have a level of intelligentsia, like you certainly do, my dear friend, um, you can put two and two together and you definitely get four, you know.
yeah.
That's why we didn't hang around for very long because we just picked up on it straight away. The radar was like the antenna was like it was going nuts, for us. Get out,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And the only reason why I stayed really was because I just wanted to see this through and I wanted to tap into what was really going on.
Mm.
And I thought, right, okay, so maybe it's an ex-Watchtower mentality that he's got that he's not climbed out of yet,
Right.
Leave a cult, sometimes you actually, it's a bit like, if your dad's abusive, you become abusive. You pick up on it, internalize it,
Mm.
And I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. I thought perhaps, he'll come awake to his own ideas and stop doing this. So I was kind of, hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
the last time that this chat room opened, this was funny because I said, Eric, I just wanted a chance to just describe where I'm coming from on this and why. Maybe a 20-minute presentation would be good. And then everybody, and if it's in a chat room, they can take it or leave it. I'm not pushing my ideas onto anybody that's not interested. Anyway, the following week, chat room opened again on time and I got in, yay! But, okay, this is funny. The presentation was being given by a brother of Eric's choosing who was arguing against my position for Eric's position for 20 minutes.
All right. Oh,
And it was a
oh
highly
dear.
controlled scenario because normally you go into a chat room and it would be a free-for-all really, but this was highly controlled. And there
Mm.
was the sister who was basically telling us that we had to put our hands up to answer. Okay. So I got asked, I think, twice. And after he'd finished talking, and then I had maybe 2 minutes max to explain why I disagreed with that interpretation, which wasn't a long time. but then that was it. And then, of course, the meeting was closed and we couldn't talk. It was just all, I can't remember exactly what happened. Anyway.
How terrible. Yeah, how terrible. That's, yeah. Oh my
So, you
goodness.
know, I went back to Eric and I said, listen, Eric, you know, I was promised that slot. This is what I come into. No, that can't be right.
Mm.
And
And
then he
what was
goes,
it? Did he
well,
have a response? Yeah, how did he respond?
yes, his response was, well, he said, all these opportunities I've given you and all these chances and you're still coming back for more. I said, Eric, not on, only once, very briefly, did I manage, you know, to get myself heard. And that was when you were sitting on me heavily.
Yes.
You know,
Okay.
come on, you know. So some emails went backwards and forwards after that. And the following week, we came into the meeting as usual. And there was like, you know, it didn't follow the usual format. You know how in Jehovah's Witnesses we get a local needs talk?
Yeah.
And it would be because somebody had done something wrong in the congregation and, you know, it was squirm in your seats time because it was now, you know, these people weren't named, but, you know, there was a problem in the congregation.
And everybody,
had done
because of the
something
gossip, yeah, and because of the gossip,
yes,
everybody knew who it was
Who
about.
is it?
Yeah, you might as well have just named them, you know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay.
All of it, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, and it was on that format, and then a brother gave this this talk, you know, about, and it all seemed to be about this culprit, about this damage that this person was doing. I don't know, and there was stuff on the other side as well, and because of this, you know, there were things going on in the congregation, and the peace and there was a spirit of conflict in the congregation. I mean, most of the brothers and sisters were totally unaware. The only ones that were aware were the ones that knew what I was being put through, you see, because, you know, I'd be in touch with them, but everybody else,
no. Yeah, and yeah, that's how they wanted it as well. They would want to keep it like that too, you know. I'm just, obviously, were you ever able to get in touch with that brother that gave the adjustment talk? Yes. Were you ever able to contact him?
Oh yeah, he actually wrote to me and apologized when he realized what was going on. And you see what happened after that, Wendy attacked me, naming and shaming me, right? So first of all, there was this setup. So the congregation was expecting, oh, somebody's been really bad, you know, and then I was named. I'm like, oh, yeah,
terrible.
Okay. So this is actually what he wrote. Perhaps I could just read it out.
Yes,
obviously,
please.
I'll keep the identity of the brother.
Yes.
You know, won't publish that.
No.
Oh, Mike and Vicky. Okay, I'm sorry for the hurt that I caused to you. I was torn with the outcome of that meeting, and I did openly apologize at the beginning of the meeting the next week. But by that time, Mike and I had been disfellowshipped and we were locked out. My intention to present the information I did at that dreadful meeting was to try to encourage everyone to readjust their attitudes. It was apparent that there were a number of individuals who wanted to take action against you. Wow, I didn't even know that. You know, I thought this was between Eric and me. I don't know who those individuals were, but obviously I knew that there were people with Eric. You know, there was sort of the henchman. I knew that. I intuited that. But I don't know who they were. Anyway, so I was encouraged. Yeah, I was encouraged to present something. I spent much time developing a middle-of-the-road loving adjustment. It was my desire to encourage you to not push your understanding on the group. Oh, that was so interesting. I did query that because I don't know how he got that impression. You see, I didn't understand, because I was so heavily censored. I wasn't able to push my ideas onto the group, you know. It was my desire to encourage the group to be more open to hearing different perspectives without taking offense and getting aggressive. So he's kind of in between two stools. He can see though, that people are intolerant about different perspectives and were getting aggressive. Okay, and that, I think, was Eric. Unfortunately, my counsel ultimately fell on largely deaf ears, as Wendy openly attacked you during that meeting. He goes on to say, it's just a matter of interest here, we started to actively distance ourselves from the Beroean Pickets at the beginning of June. We were getting very uneasy with the insistence to conform and the constant bad-mouthing of Jehovah's Witnesses and anyone else not a part of the Beroean Pickets group. Oh, very watchtower. In addition, it became obvious to us that the hours spent in the meetings could be better spent in other avenues of Bible reading and research. In other words, he wasn't learning anything. And you don't. For all the exegesic reasoning and analysis that Eric does, you get
went
very
over
little.
the head. Yes. Yeah.
It went very little in there that I thought was any different from, you know, what I already kind of knew.
What you already knew, yes.
Yeah. He says, we hope that you, along with everyone else who has been hurt by the Beroean Pickets group, will grow in peace. Christian love, so he signs off. And I thought, well, that's a really nice, but I you know, I mean, we weren't present the following meeting when he kind of realized, but, you know, that was because we were locked out. Mike tried to get in because he hadn't been told he was no longer welcome.
I mean, what's that about? What had poor Mike done? Nothing. Yeah,
he never spoke up at all.
Never.
He actually wrote to Eric to say, well, does that include me? Because I got this email to say I was no longer welcome at the meeting. And that was because, okay, and the reason being that after that naming and shaming situation that happened, I was obviously upset, you know, like, what was that in view of? You don't name and shame like that in a public meeting when it's supposed to be Christian, you don't. And what had I done? What had I done that was out of the way?
It's a complete misuse of power. It's a complete misuse of power, I'm afraid. Yes.
When we were locked out, I actually tried to get in with a different name, but with an iPad that we had used before to connect to Beroean Pickets. And we were immediately thrown out. So we managed to connect, and then the connection was dropped. And I did that several times with different computers. And then I decided to try my iPhone, which I had not used before, to connect to Beroean Pickets. And I used a different name. I just used Mike and nothing else. And I was able to get into the meeting. But when I was in the meeting, there was another person, a sister, who said that she had been connected and then was thrown off the meeting several times. And Wendy then said, oh, well, we never throw anybody out of the meetings, which is an absolute lie, because she'd thrown me out several times.
She does, believe you me, she does. Yeah. Wow, thank you, Mike. So Mike was disfellowshipped by association. He was disfellowshipped by association. Wow. Isn't that shocking? Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah. It is.
And
I was disfellowshipped for an unnamed offence, but I was curious, you know, when I got this email from this brother, I just wanted to know why I got that impression, because I was thinking, when did I get my...
Yeah, I was censored,
completely censored. So I mean, how did he get that impression? I was interested.
Exactly.
So anyway, he replied to that email. And I think that we can then get an idea of how Wendy and Eric were operating behind the scenes to create a misrepresentation. This is what he says. I will attempt to answer your questions to the best of my ability, though my recollection of the events is now faded.
Oh, yeah.
As I recall, the subject of whether Jesus had pre-human existence had been brought up and discussed 1 week during the main meeting. I can't actually remember that, actually, but I think that it might have been, I'm not sure. But I don't think, I can't remember. I certainly didn't give a presentation at a main meeting. Could have been in an answer I gave that was discussed afterwards. I think I remember that I was in a breakout room after that first time it was brought up. I believe that it was brought up again the following week during the main meeting. There may have been another breakout room that week, although I only remember going into a breakout room for that topic one time. Well, yeah, because it only happened one time when I was actually presenting. And that was obviously very brief. I'm not sure if it was brought up a third week or if the Sunday we all remember too well occurred that third week. He says, personally, I was pleased that the subject came up the first week as it spurred me to research the subject. I had not really been aware of that line of reasoning. Well, he goes on to say, after it came up the second week and possibly a third, although I can't be sure now, I recall that there was some communication from those in the group that they felt that they had heard enough back and forth on the subject. I recall that I was already scheduled to host. I believe Wendy said something to the effect that they were under the understanding that you intended to bring the subject up again in the main meeting again. She said Paula wanted a chance to say something at the start of the meeting. She also said it would be good if I had something to say on the subject. So, yeah, I never gave a presentation in the main meeting. I did put it past Eric that, you know, perhaps he might allow me, because, you know, but he said no. Okay, I understand no. So it was interesting that Wendy said, oh, yes, I believe that Vicky is going to want to be talking about this again at the main meeting. That never happened, and that was never, and I never received any notification of that venue, and it was never given. It was never given anyway. It was just said. It was said.
Yeah.
So that everybody would get this impression that I thought I was some sort of bigwig that was manipulating Beroean Pickets rather than the other way around. You know, I was like the big tiger, you know.
and I know exactly what you're saying. I can absolutely pinpoint it to the action because I've seen it all before with my own eyes and heard with my own ears. I know exactly what you're saying, and it really is. You know, it's very disturbing because you know the religious governance, if I can put it that way, it's non-existent, and the dynamics of the groups and how decorum and mutual respect for each other to be able to have their chance to speak is just non-existent. I have been in many meetings here in Australia, at the Australian group, and not so much at the weekend meetings, but certainly in the Australian groups, when it was just a free-for-all. It was nothing like the noble-minded Beroeans, you know, and they would flog the scriptures. 2 scriptures would be flogged over a month, you know, just not I never got anything out of it, and I found them very boring in the end. You know, because they were just not stimulating me, and so I could have done with somebody like you in the group, because I'd have been thinking, wow, this lady, she's making us think, you know, she's raising some valid points, and that would have been really nice. That I thought that was what Beroean Pickets were about, like he says in his, like they say in their website, you know, we're works in progress. It's a work in progress. So why should there be all of this underhandedness? And I'm sorry to have to say this, but personality types, you know, that I've observed in Eric and Wendy, they just They just love the power. They love to have control, and well, beside anybody that's got a level of intelligence that just may outsmart them or outshine them. I'm just going to say it as it is, because that's what I've experienced.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's really sad, because you know what? Those two people have a lot of ability. They have a lot of ability. They're very clever people, but they haven't harnessed that correctly. No.
No, they haven't. And unfortunately, you see, far be it from me to tell people not to join Beroean Pickets.
No.
But
No.
it's just that I think there needs to be a level of awareness and transparency also from that community, because it's not fair, for people to come out of one cult just to go back into some other cult and be taken unaware.
So Vicky, you just said cult. Sorry, I just want to pick up, because you do bring up some very interesting points. Do you believe that Beroean Pickets is now becoming more and more like of a cult? Do you think?
Absolutely.
And you mentioned the term henchman, Eric's henchman. Sorry, can you just elaborate on that, please?
Yeah. What I saw really was this very smooth running machine. You know how it was in the Watchtower, where you've got like this hierarchy going down and everybody's mind is conforming, and how whichever way the leadership moves, everything moves, and if you fall foul of that machine, it cranks up and it works very, very swiftly to kick you out. I've been through this fellowship process, and it was completely, it was mad. It was mad, because
it is mad.
The witnesses, they will even, they don't go by the book, they don't go by the book. If they want you out, they'll find some reason.
They'll find something. Okay, yes.
And if you're thinking for yourself, you know how it is. If you think for yourself that you can't control you anymore, that makes you a threat. Exactly. And out you go. Well, it's the same thing. The same thing in Britain. It's exactly the same thing, and this well-oiled machine. But I know that that there was this inner circle. I mean, actually, just another detail. After the meeting, that meeting where I was named and shamed, the way it was handled afterwards, because, I was fuming at that point, to be honest. And I just wanted to say, look, you lot, what do you think was going on? And it was interesting, because Wendy was sort of orchestrating it. She's like a conductor. And she was saying to all the ones that had sort of kicked up a fuss about it, that was done with such love. And love is what we should all be in the Christian community. And then this chorus went up, love. And I thought, this is like some kind of hippie cult from the 60s,
Oh, wow.
It was so weird. It was so weird. But I remember that, love. And I thought, love? You call this love?
They wouldn't know the meaning of the word.
Oh, my goodness. I was, at that point in time, I was pretty annoyed. So I just wanted to have it out, with everybody. I just, what do you think this is? Why didn't any of you stand up and say this is absolute?
Yeah, we did actually get a couple of brothers and sisters who reached out to us afterwards to basically say we were not happy with the way that was handled. It was really bad. Now, since then, we haven't really communicated much with those people, but they did realise, some of them did realise how badly that was handled.
So not everybody taken in.
No, but so others, I would say, did their usual thing, as they would have done as Jehovah's Witnesses, and sided with the leadership, because that was the done thing to do, so they didn't think for themselves. They didn't actually try and understand what really had happened.
Exactly.
They just went along with the leadership.
Yes.
And the leadership is what I think Vicky's calling the henchmen. I would have called them ministerial servants,
the elders, because it was like, in Jehovah's Witnesses, if the elders blacklisted someone, you know, for instance, you couldn't take out the trolley, you know, because you weren't approved, and you would never be told that, but it was like suddenly, you know, you were distanced. And everybody would pick up on that, you know, the psychology of the group think. Well, Eric and Wendy were using that, you see, in Beroean Pickets. And what I saw after that meeting, and funnily enough, actually, one brother had stood up to Eric, and I thought, wow. And he said, I blame you, Eric, he goes. I thought the worm turned there a little bit. Wow, I thought that. He said, you know, wow, you are being controlling, or some words to that effect. Wow, I thought that was one for the book. But, you know, after that meeting, you see, Wendy wanted to manipulate the situation now because she didn't want the whole thing to go up in flames. So she had to control it. So she comes on and she says, everybody, we are now going to go into a chat room to talk about cruises. You know, she was all cruises, yeah. She was organising congregation cruise. Well, of course, everybody into the chat room, and then there's no other chat room there, except I see one on my screen. Obviously, I don't want to talk about cruises, so there's another chat room. So I go in there thinking, but there's only one other sister there. Only one other sister. Now, the funny thing is that, you know, I checked out afterwards with people I was in communication with. They had not seen that chat room on their screen.
Right.
Only me. That's how they're working it.
Wow.
So I went to that chat room, right? So then that was the decoy. That was to take me away and lock me in. And there was just the one sister in there. And I knew that she was in the inner circle, you know, with Eric and Wendy. She was thick with them. And she was just trying to talk about nothing, airy-fairy, you know, oh, hello, oh, how lovely, you know that, oh. And I said, welcome to your new governing body.
Oh, wow.
And Watchtower, have fun with it. And then I decided to take my leave, you know. But I wanted to get back into the room where they were talking about cruises.
Right.
You know, so that I could say, listen up, I'm whistleblowing here loudly.
Yes,
okay.
Very
but
good.
What happened was that I got locked out of the meeting at that point anyway. So happy day.
Well, you know what, Vicky, you've had your, I mean, listening to both of you, it's just been, oh my goodness, it's been mind-blowing. But you've had your opportunity to tell your side of things here, because I think the main aim of these interviews, and also the 3 videos that I did before to invite Eric and Wendy, you know, along to a meeting so that people could talk about their experiences and we could all work collaboratively. I mean, they haven't come to the plate, and they're not going to, which is fine, but we've given them an opportunity. And this isn't about, you know, this isn't about a naming and shaming, although they probably won't see it like that. The fact is, I think one of the main things that I want to achieve through these interviews, and I'm going to ask you as well, what are you hoping to achieve, is that we can bring public awareness to people, for example, like Jehovah's Witnesses leaving the Watchtower and looking for some support. We're not saying, as you stated, we're not saying here, we don't want you going to Beroean Pickets or joining their Bible groups. No, that's not what people can do, what they like. However, what I'm saying is on this channel is that the people who come across these interviews, then you listen to these heartfelt experiences, and it's up to you whether you join Beroean Pickets and go to their group. However, you do run the risk of experiencing harm. And I will say that every single time. That is the warning. Nobody then can turn around and say, why wasn't there a whistleblower, talking about this? Because, you know, something's happened, you know, or something serious has happened, you know, kind of thing, which, you know, I'm not going to go into here, but, you know, the propensity for vulnerable people to go there and experience what you've experienced and not have the strength, the lucidity, the intelligence, and the emotional intelligence to talk about your experiences like you have. For somebody else, who knows what that could do to them. That's all I'm going to say. And
That's I was,
you know what I mean?
yes,
Is that what you, is that
yes,
what are you
yes.
looking to achieve? What are you looking to achieve from coming on here?
You know, my last words to Eric were, over my dead body, are you going to abuse the flock of Christ? Now, Karen, you're the one that actually picked it up and ran with the ball. I didn't know what to do. I spoke to lawyers actually afterwards, because it wasn't me. It wasn't about me. I mean, I can deal with that, but it was just the fact that there were so many people that are coming in. There's a lot of people going out the back door with Bereans. They have a very high turnover.
There is.
But there are lots more coming in the front door, you see, because of this thing, where, as you pointed out in the beginning, people want somewhere where they can worship, somewhere where they can, where they can get together. They want to study the Bible. And that seems to be the first flag they see waving, because Eric's got this prodigious online presence. Now, all I have to say to the people that are looking for somewhere to go to Christ. He'll look after you, and he will show you where he wants you to be. And it's a rough road. It is a rough road. That's the road to life. It's rough. It's not smooth. You don't just sit bums on seats in the kingdom hall, But it's very joyous, and it's challenging, but it's rewarding.
Yes.
And you're mentally free, and that's the way God wants you. He doesn't want you as somebody else's slave, does he?
No, he doesn't.
So don't worry about it. Don't worry about where you're going to go. It's who you're going to go to. It's Jesus.
Yeah. Isn't that lovely? And go on, Mike.
One of the scriptures we used multiple times, and other scriptures similar, when we were disfellowshipped from Jehovah's Witnesses, applies here and to all the other groups where there's a strong leadership or a narcissistic leadership. And that's Psalm 146 verse 3, which basically says, don't follow men, follow Christ.
Amen.
You have to come back to that every time.
You do. And even there's a even stronger one. I think it's Jeremiah 17:5, and it says, cursed is the one that puts his trust in men.
Absolutely.
Because when the thing comes, you won't enjoy it. When the kingdom comes, you won't be there, if that's what you're going to do. If you're going to follow men and you're going to make yourself a slave of men, you're not getting into the kingdom. Well, you're not going to be.
Well, no, and I hear what you're saying, because I'm getting that you're both Christian. I'm born again Christian, and as a result, from a very, I just want to wrap up here and just say, as a result of this, it's not easy and it's not pleasant talking about experiences, but we've become very close as a result. I feel privileged and honoured to have met you and talked to you, Vicky, and now I've met your husband, Mike. These things, it does take somebody to pick up the ball and run. And I did pray about this because of my own experiences. And now we're here, and people are coming out of the woodwork to come on here and talk about their experiences. And safety in numbers. And as the voice grows, we want to send a message out there that, you don't, like you said, you don't have to join religious groups, religious cults, follow men. Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. Exactly. So it's very, very sad, really sad that this has happened the way that it has for Eric and Wendy. And I don't have anything against them as human beings, but what I do have against them is, treatment, spiritual abuse, which can affect the mental, emotional, and psychological makeup of an individual, especially, I mean, they're not all going to be strong and, you know, be able to comport themselves like both of you. Some of them are going to be absolutely traumatized, and I do know that.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
I know off the back of the back of what I know about people. I know at least 20 people that have left Beroean Pickets in the short time that I was there. So something, you know, if Eric and Wendy did listen to this, you know, is there anything you want to say to them if they actually chance to view this video?
That's a good point. I think if Eric and Wendy, you're ever going to listen to this, then, you know, your everlasting life is on the table here, isn't it? Your place with Christ. Now, really, is it worldly power, authority, glory, whatever it is you want, is it really worth it? And lose your soul, lose your kingdom, lose your place with the Lord? I don't think it could be. So please, you know, I do beseech you, reconsider, listen to what people are saying to you, and look, are you really behaving like good shepherds? And what is the real task of a shepherd of Christ? Isn't it really to inspire faith? Isn't it to be an example to the flock? Isn't it to be a comforter? It's not to fleece the flock, take their donations and have a nice holiday in Mexico or whatever, a nice hotel. It's really, you know, you are going to be accountable, you're going to be answerable. And what did Jesus say? You're going to be judged based on how you treated Christ's brothers and sisters. And really, really, you are on a very sticky wicket at the moment. So please look up and take what's being said here in the right spirit. We're not, you know, our desire is for you to be saved. But
Yes.
only you can make that decision about who you're going to be and what you're going to really stand for. So I hope you make the right decision. I really do.
Thank you so much, Vicky. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. I'm glad I asked you that question, and I'm glad it's come from somebody else rather than me, but I do concur with you on everything. It's my hope and prayer. I keep them in my prayers all the time, you know, that they can look within themselves, because we've all got inner working to do. But, you know, we
Yeah.
acknowledge that, you know, we're sinful, and we want to eradicate it. You know, it's not a case of um not wanting to do anything or thinking that everybody else is wrong, you know,
Yeah.
and they're,
We've
you
all
know what I
got
mean?
work.
Exactly. We've all got work to do. And, you know, nobody has the monopoly on that. We're all in the same boat. So I just want to take this opportunity to, first of all, commend both of you for being brave and coming on here and telling your story and your experiences. But I also, secondly, want to thank you now, because as a result of this negative, you know, experience, you and I have become really good friends, and I've met Mike, and I think you're an amazing couple. I think you're beautiful, beautiful people, and I already love you. I already love you so much, and hopefully we can keep. Well, I know we'll keep in touch, definitely, on WhatsApp, and I just want to say thank you, and may our Lord bless you in everything that you do, in whatever you say and wherever you go, that He is with you, because you are amazing people.
Thank you so much, Karen, and thank you for giving this opportunity to us. I feel that I've been able to discharge something and do some good, and I think that you're amazingly brave, because obviously when you're a whistleblower, you get to be judged as well.
Oh, I've been judged. I've been judged. I've been in the firing line. Don't you worry about that. But you know what?
Yeah,
It is what it is, and I've just got to keep focused on people like you. That's it. So yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it,
because
it just yeah, go on.
it's a call to battle, isn't it? It's a call to arms. That's what
Yes.
Christianity is. That's the calling. It's a call to arms. You can't just sit in a corner.
Mm,
You've got to be out there. And it's with the Holy Spirit really that we're able to keep going. And
absolutely, amen. I
not easy.
completely 100% agree. So
Yeah.
well, thank you so much, and we'll end the recording right there now.